Hare Krishna. Omajnanatimandasya Jnanasla Shlaka Saksumiritam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamini. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Satani. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Today we will discuss today Canto 10, Chapter 47, verses 23 till 47. We will start with reading verse 23 and the very small purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Shivdava Ovacha Ayoyam Yam Sma Purnachta Bhavatyo Loka Bhuchita Vasudeve Bhagavati Yasam It Arpitam Manaha. Shivdav said, certainly you gopis are all successful and are universally worshipped, because you have dedicated your minds in this way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Although other devotees have certainly surrendered their minds unto me, the gopis are unique in their intensity of love. So we are we have heard during the last lesson that Radharani was in a very angry mood, and in that mood she was chastising Krishna indirectly through the bumblebee. But then towards the end her mood changed, and she became very repentant and submissive, and first she didn't want to hear anything about Krishna. She was just completely against it, but by the end she became more receptive and she wanted to hear the message. So now Uddhav is going to deliver the message of Krishna. But first, before he speaks Krishna's words, he's glorifying the gopis. And I read the verse again. Certainly you gopis are all successful and are universally worshipped because you have dedicated your minds in this way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. So the gopis' mind is surrendered to Krishna, and therefore they are unique. Which verse in Bhagavad Gita describes which verse in Bhagavad Gita describes this position of the gopis? Bhagavad Gita 18:65. Manmanabhav madbhakto. That verse certainly describes their position, but also Machita Machata Prana Bodhayantas Prashpram Katyan Samam Nityam Tushanti Sharam Mandasa 10:9. So the gopis are perfect examples of that. And now we are going to text 24. So we have a lot of verses to cover today. The lesson maybe it's a bit longer than usual. 24. Devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, and fire sacrifices, by japa, study of Vedic text, observance of regulative principles, and indeed by the performance of many other practices. Can someone read the purport, please, of 24?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains the processes described here as follows. Dana, donations given to Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Vrata, observing vows such as Ekadashi. Tapas, renunciation of sense gratification for Krishna's sake. Homa, fire sacrifices dedicated to Vishnu, japa, privately chanting the holy names of the Lord, svadhyaya, study and recitation of Vedic texts such as the Gopal Tapani Upanishad.
Very good. Thank you. It's interesting because we often think that the mercy comes from the pure devotee. Of course, that is true. If we would not have the blessings of a pure devotee, we could not do anything of these things. But here it is also saying that there is a cause for devotional service. It's interesting, we often think devotional service is causeless. Of course, that is pure devotional service here. So, this is also described by Bhaktivedanta Thakur as Bhakti Mukhi Sukriti activities which lead to devotional service. But Madhurya Kanambini says that, because in Madhurya Kanambini, that the conclusion of the course of Bhakti is that Bhakti comes from Bhakti. That there's no other cause. But Madhurya Kanambini describes what type of bhakti is described in this verse. It's a specific type of bhakti. Devotional service dominated by knowledge and on the mundane platform of the mode of goodness does not refer to unalloyed devotional service. That's different. It does not refer to unalloyed devotion, which is transcendental to the modes or the level of prema. This is jnana mishra bhakti, also mixed with the mode of goodness. This type of bhakti you can get by performing these kind of activities. Madhurya Kanambini explains. But when these activities are explained in this way, they are sadhana bhakti or regulated devotional service. Now, what does say Srila Prabhupada say Krishna book? He is the goal of all pious activities and ritualistic performances, such as charity, rigidly following the austerity of vows, undergoing severe penances, and igniting the fire of sacrifice. Is the purpose behind chanting mantras, reading the Vedas, controlling the senses, and concentrating the mind in meditation. They are some of the many different processes for self-realization and attainment of perfection of life. But actually, they are meant only for realizing Krishna and dovetailing oneself in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita also. Although there are descriptions of different processes of self-realization, at the end, Krishna recommends that one give up everything and simply surrender unto him. All other processes are meant for teaching one how to surrender ultimately unto the Lord's feet of Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita also says that this surrendering process is completed by a sincere person after executing the process of self-realization in wisdom and austerity for many births. It's quite clear what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Now we go to text 25. Text 25. By your great fortune you have established an unexcelled standard of pure devotion for the Lord, Uttama Sloka, a standard even the sages can hardly attain. Here you have again that word Uttama Sloki. It seems to run through all these verses. So maybe I read the purport, it's just 2 lines, 2 sentences I mean. The term pravartita in the case of the gopis brought to this world a standard of pure love of God that was previously unknown of the earth. Thus Uddhava congratulates them on their unparalleled contribution to the religious life. So it was previously unknown on the earth. So what is known to them? What was known to the earth before? So before the gopis came, what kind of devotion was there? They didn't have this type of devotion. So what was there? In other yugas, there was Vaidhi Bhakti, Dasya in our reference, but not Madhurya. Madhurya was not there. That text 26. By your great fortune you have left your sons, husbands, bodily comforts, relatives and homes in favor of the Supreme Male, who is known as Krishna. So that's interesting also. If you look at it externally, they did not leave their husbands and sons. They did not. So how is Uddhav saying, you have left your sons and husbands? No, they had only mentally renounced. They did not put on saffron and a danda. They didn't take sannyas, but they took sannyas internally, not externally. Internally they were sannyas. However, and they were in separation from Krishna. In that sense, Radharani was wearing saffron, actually. She was wearing saffron because we heard before from her tears the kumkum was washing her sari, so that much of it became the color of saffron. Interesting. Good. Yeah. Of course, Bhagavad Gita says 259. If you have a higher taste, you even don't know that you are renouncing. So that's a higher form of renunciation, or the ultimate form of renunciation. 27. You have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord, O most glorious gopis. Indeed, by exhibiting your love for Krishna in separation from him, you have shown me great mercy. Can someone read the purport of 27?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explained that the gopis gave up their sense of possessiveness toward these objects. History shows that the gopis remained in the Vrindavan, living in their houses with their families. However, unlike ordinary person, they entirely renounced the egotistical senses of possession of sons, husbands, and so on. They never tried to enjoy them, but rather gave their whole heart and mind to the Supreme Lord, as recommended in the great religious scripture of the world. Following the example of the gopis, we should love the Supreme Lord with all our heart, soul, and might.
So it seems I have a different purport. Let's see. This is 27.
Maharaj, Mataji read for 26.
Okay, maybe you can read 27.
Thank you, Maharaj. The gopis showed not only Uddhava, but the whole world the joy of love of Godhead, and thus they bestowed their mercy on everyone. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, because their loving devotion was executed in an appropriate way, their love brought the Supreme Lord under their control. Still, to show the intensity of their love, he apparently loved them. But now he again manifested himself among them, becoming spiritually present through their intense devotion. Thank you.
Thank you. So Uddhav is appreciating his fortunate his own fortunate position in getting the association of the gopis who are experienced separation from Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada gives another information here about the mentality of the gopis at this point. And we find that in Krishna book. Back to Krishna book. When Uddhav said that he had a message from Krishna, the gopis were more interested in hearing the message than in hearing about their exalted position. They did not very much like being praised for their high position. They showed their anxiety to hear the message Uddhav had brought from Krishna. Uddhav said, "My dear gopis, I am especially deputed to carry this message to you, who are such great and gentle devotees. Krishna has specifically sent me to you because I am his most confidential servitor." So, then the next paragraph. Uddhav did not deliver to the gopis the written message brought from Krishna, but he personally read it to them. The message was very gravely written, so that not only the gopis, but all empiric philosophers might understand how pure love of God is intrinsically integrated with all the different energies of the Supreme Lord. From the Vedic information, it is understood that the Supreme Lord has multi-energies, Parasya Saktir Vivideva Shruyate. Also the gopis were such intimate personal friends that while he was sitting, while he was writing the message for them, he was moved, so that he could not write distinctly. Uddhav, as a student of Brihaspati, had very sharp intelligence, so instead of handing over the written message, he thought it was wise to read it personally and explain it to them. So this message is about Asindhya Veda Veda Tattva. That will be the message to the gopis we will hear. So Uddhav has undergone a transformation at this point. Before he was thinking that I'm such a great Pandit. I'm so dear to Krishna. I'm a disciple of Brihaspati. Now his pride is crushed. Who am I? I'm the most fallen, most degraded next to the gopis. Now I get to see what is Krishna Prema. So I'm very fortunate. Uddhava is thinking like this. Sometimes pride develops in a devotee, and Krishna does not want to see that pride, and therefore he crushes that pride of his devotee. Uddhav was a little proud, because he was the best devotee in Dwarka. After hearing the gopis, he thinks that I'm not even a devotee compared to the gopis. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.31.6 relates to this topic. That 10.31.6, I will try to get it on the screen. Back the Veda base here. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 31, verse 6. Vrachanakti hanviracho sitam Nichachanasmaya tvamsanasmita Bhajya sake bhavat kinkarismanano Shalarohanamam charudarsaya. Let's see. O you who destroy the suffering of such people, O hearer of all women, your smile chatters of false prides of your devotee. Your smile shatters the false pride of your devotee. Please, dear friend, accept us as your maidservants and show us your beautiful lotus face. So, when the gopis became proud during the rasa dance, Krishna left them to smash their pride. Now, here he sent Uddhav to Vrindavan also to smash his pride. He had become a little proud, therefore Krishna sent him to Braj. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita it is said, Krishna can never abandon the people of Braj. He surely returned there again and again to reside and enjoy his pastimes. It is said by Sanatana Goswami, in his eternal pastimes, Krishna again and again goes to Mathura to help the Yadus, and again he returns to Vrindavan and again takes up his Vrindavan pastimes. But it is most curious to see how all the devotees of Braj respond to the waves of ecstasy born of separation. Indeed, seeing this gives him great pleasure. Just as sometimes he hides in a cave in the forest, sometimes and on some pretext, he goes away from Braj while playing in his various pastimes. So, of course, if he doesn't go away, how can they experience separation? He's always with them, but sometimes he hides just to see the ecstasy they have in separation from him. Narada Muni said, this way of acting just befits the most generous, the most magnanimous person, for he presents his most dear friends the most desirable object, most rarely obtained. So what is that most desirable object that Krishna gives to his friends when they leave, when he leaves them? It's viraha, love in separation. So no one should criticize him for his behavior with the devotees of the residents of Vrindavan, who cannot tolerate his absence even for a fraction of a second. Narada said he had no such complaint against Krishna, although some persons may. He is the most generous and the most magnanimous, because he is given Vipralamba, this bath. No one else is worthy of that gift. So the Vrajavasi are greatly distinguished to be his recipients. Probably those who criticize Krishna have not received this gift of Vipralamba bath, or maybe they think they are actually unhappy. Therefore, they are just complaining. Although Krishna is transcendental and adoksha, and not perceptible to material senses, the gopis of Vraj have conquered them by their exclusive devotion. This is Brihad Bhagavatamrita, 3rd volume, chapter 5, verses 165 and 67. Uddhav recognized the gopis to be the most fortunate and generous souls who felt the pangs of separation from Krishna, even while enjoying him face to face. Not only when Krishna was away were they feeling separation, they were feeling separation even when Krishna was with them. He may leave and you may not see him. So they were always feeling separation from Krishna, not only when he went away to Mathura, but others were not feeling the same separation from Krishna, as they did not get the gift of feeling intense love in separation all the time. Good. We will read text 28. 28. My good ladies, now please hear your beloved message, which I, the confidential servant of my master, have come here to bring you. We read the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. O Uddhav, in speaking about Mahabhav, what is the use of praising us and yourself? You have come here to pacify us. Do you have some message of Krishna which can remove our sorrow? If you have, please tell us. He answers with this verse, please hear the message of your beloved, which will bring you happiness, which I, carrying out his confidential work, have brought here. So, the first part of this message is quite jnani-like, transcendental knowledge. And the second part is more personal to the gopis. So the gopis will like more the last part. But the message is, Krishna says, you are not separated from me. I'm with you in so many ways, always. So now these verses from 29 to 33 will find some similarities with the Chatur Sloka Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should understand what Lord Krishna, what he spoke to Brahma and is passed down to the disciplic succession. It's the same message that he's going to give the gopis. But with the gopis, there is going to be an inner meaning. An inner meaning which is completely different, which we will be able to understand by hearing our acharyas, especially from Jiva Goswami and his Sandarbhas. So Jiva Goswami analyzed these verses very carefully. Which of the Satur Shloki does this remind you of? It's verse 35. Canto 2, chapter 9, verse 35 of the Chatur Shloka. These verses describe Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. So if we read this verse 28 again, 28. This is announcing the message but then text 29 says, the Supreme Lord said, you are actually never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of creation, just as the elements of nature, ether, air, fire, water and earth are present in every created thing. So I'm present within everyone's mind's life, air and senses, and also within the physical elements and the modes of material nature. Can someone read the...
According to Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanatha Chakrabarti, the apparently philosophical language of the Lord's statement conceals a deeper meaning. The Supreme Lord was secretly telling the gopis that he, by way of reciprocating their special love for him, was present with them, not only as a soul in all creation, but also as their special lover. In this sense of the verse, the word guna indicates the gopis' special divine qualities, which attracted Sri Krishna, and the word Sarvatmana, which we'll have here translated in reference to the Krishna himself, unquote, corresponding with the words me, which is also in the instrumental case, unquote, is also understood in the sense of sarvata, or completely. In other words, although in one sense for Krishna was absent, he could never be completely absent, since his spiritual form is always in the hearts and minds of gopis. In Krishna, the Supreme Personal Godhead, and other books, the Prabhupada has elaborately explained that the reason Lord Krishna separated himself from the gopis was to intensify their love for him, and as Uddhava noted, to bless other devotees by revealing to them the intensity of the gopis' love. In fact, the Lord was spiritually present with the gopis since they are his eternal assistants. Srila Bhaktivedanta Chakrabarti further points out that foolish persons will conclude that Sri Krishna's use of philosophical language meant that the Lord was trying to bring the gopis to the point of liberation by explaining basic points of Krishna consciousness philosophy. In truth, the gopis are the most exalted liberated souls, and their pastimes with Sri Krishna must be understood with the help of authorized acharyas. When the gopis came for the rasa dance, Sri Krishna tried to preach Kama Yoga to them, emphasizing ordinary ethics and morality. But the gopis were beyond that. Similarly, Lord Krishna now offered them Jnana Yoga or metaphysical philosophy. But this is also inadequate for the gopis who have achieved spontaneous, unalloyed love for Sri Krishna.
Thank you so much. So, according to Jiva Goswami, this verse corresponds with 2:935, Am Eva Sameva Kre, where Krishna says, I alone existed before the creation, then I started the creation and maintained it and destroyed it, and after annihilation, the only thing what remains is I. So that is prayojan, it's the goal. The goal is to understand Krishna is everywhere and that we are not separated from Krishna. We just think we are separated from Krishna, but he's the life air in the heart, in the senses. How can we be separated? It's Maya that we think we are separated from Krishna. Externally, it appears he's preaching to the gopis. You are not separated because I'm present in all these ways. So he's telling them, I'm in your mind, I'm in your life here. Otherwise, your life would not leave your life here would not leave your body, as we heard. Or otherwise, your life here would leave your body, as we heard in previous class. So Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book quotes Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, how Krishna is all pervading and how everything rests in him and how all the material elements gross, subtle, are his inferior energies. But Srila Prabhupada says something more. He says that Krishna is within everything and is the cause and effect. Srila Prabhupada says not only the gopis but all living entities are always inseparably connected with Krishna in all circumstances. Yes, not only the gopis, we are also connected with Krishna. We may be thinking we are separated. In the message of the gopis, Srila Prabhupada writes, the gopis, however, are perfectly and thoroughly in cognition of this relationship with Krishna, whereas living entities, under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy, are forgetful of Krishna and think themselves separate identities, having no connection with him. They see the connection, we don't see the connection, and therefore we suffer. I will go back to Krishna book to bring the Veda base here again to Krishna book. Books 47, chapter 47. Let's see if we find it. Yeah, here it is. The love of Krishna, Krishna consciousness, is there for the perfection of real knowledge, in understand things as they are. Our minds can never be vacant. The mind is constantly occupied with some kind of thought, and the subject matter of thought, such thought cannot be outside the 8 elements of Krishna's energy. One who knows this philosophical aspect of all thoughts is actually a wise man, and he surrenders to Krishna. The gopis are the epitome of this perfectional stage of knowledge. They are not simple mental speculators. Their minds are always in Krishna. The mind is nothing but the energy of Krishna. Actually, any person who can think, feel and will cannot be separated from Krishna, but the stage in which he can understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is called Krishna consciousness. The diseased condition in which we cannot understand his eternal relationship our eternal relationship with Krishna is the contaminated state or Maya. Since the gopis are on the platform of pure transcendental knowledge, their minds are always filled with Krishna consciousness. For example, as there is no separation between fire and air, there is no separation between Krishna and the living entities. When the living entities forget Krishna, they are not in their normal condition. As for the gopis, because they are always thinking of Krishna, they are on absolute states of perfection in knowledge. The so-called empiric philosophers sometimes think that the path of bhakti is meant for the less intelligent. But unless the so-called man of knowledge comes to the platform of bhakti, his knowledge is certainly impure and imperfect. Actually, the stage of forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with Krishna is separation. But that is also illusory, because there is no such separation. The gopis were not situated in that illusory condition of life, so even from the philosophical point of view, for them there was no separation. So this is the secret of Asindhya Abheda Bheda Tattva, described by Srila Prabhupada in one purport. This verse, which means verse 29, which we are discussing, is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And there is a beautiful interpretation by Krishnadas Goswami how the great devotees are not separated from Krishna. So I'm going to read from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, the Madhya Lila, chapter 25, verses 127 till 129. There, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, a highly elevated devotee can bind me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his heart by love. Wherever he looks, he sees me and nothing else. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who destroys everything inauspicious for his devotees, that does not leave the hearts of his devotees, even if they remember him and chant about him inattentively. This is because the rope of love always binds the Lord within the devotees' hearts. Such devotees should be accepted as most elevated. A person advanced in devotional service sees within everything the soul of souls, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he always sees the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes and understands that all things are situated in him. So, if we don't feel Krishna in our heart, then what are we missing? It means we don't love him. If we love Krishna, then we can bind him in our heart. Then we actually can bind him. So this is what the gopis has done. They loved Krishna and they were able to bind him in the heart and in their soul. So now we are going to the Krishna Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. He analyzes these verses in detail and gives us the hidden meaning for the gopis in much more detail. So this is from the Krishna Sandarbha. Anuchet 157 to 166. So 157. Superficially describing the all-pervading super soul, Krishna actually described the gopis' constant meditation on him and their uninterrupted svarasika perception on him through strong feelings of separation. So That's the hidden message for the gopis. So this verse describes the meditation of Krishna, on Krishna by the gopis. This is what Jiva Goswami is saying, that I reside in your mind, your senses, and your life breath, because I've taken shelter in all these places. So Krishna is saying he has taken shelter in their mind, life, air, and senses. I am living there. Jiva Goswami explains that ether is the cause of air, air of fire, fire of water, and water of earth. So each element the cause of each element is situated in the effect. Like ether is within air, air is within fire, fire is in water, water is within earth. So Krishna says, I'm the source of everything, Sarva Karana Karanam, therefore I'm situated in everything. In the same way, Krishna must be everywhere, because it's the cause. Before there was the creation, only Krishna existed. So it's all Krishna, because the cause must be within all the effects. So even though we are externally separated, I'm always within you in this way. So how can I be separated? I always live in your mind and senses. In what form? I'm always there in my original form, playing on my flute with 2 hands and a dark complexion. I'm there in my original form, but actually there is another interpretation by Sanatana Goswami on this verse. Not on this verse, but the fact that Krishna did not come and is sending a message. The gopis, their hopes were shattered that Krishna would actually come. They gave up all hope when they saw Uddhava. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita again, this is the first part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, chapter 6. Uddhava is telling Krishna that you didn't go back and send me instead, and went, and they heard the message you sent with me, and they almost died from disappointment. That's what Uddhava said to Krishna. So the commentary here is that this message about the supersoul is nothing less than cruel deception. How can they just meditate on the supersoul? So that is Sanatana Goswami's view from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says a complete different thing. He says this is a message for 2 classes of people. A message, instruction or knowledge, purpose is to unveil the inconceivable strength of prema to the most intelligent. Even an intelligent person hears this verse, he will think, oh, prema is wonderful. Now to cover the glories of prema from the dull-minded, the jnanis and the impersonalists, they will think when they hear this verse, yes, that's real knowledge. All the pervasiveness of Brahman or Paramatma, this is knowledge, the jnanis will say. So 2 kinds of people will hear this verse, and according to their mentality, they will hear differently. If you are intelligent, you will see prema. If you are dull-minded, then you will see some jnana, knowledge. That is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said. To the gopis, Krishna is teaching the nectar of knowledge, and that could not distinguish the fire of their love. Whether that knowledge got consumed by the fire of their love, their prema has been proven the strongest. They loved Krishna, and they were able to bind him in their heart and soul. And because it has rendered useless jnana yoga tattva by me, the Lord of the mind and yoga. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, in the beginning of Rasa Lila he taught karma yoga, and now he appears to be teaching jnana yoga. But this is to hide the greatest secret from the ignorant people, the secret of prema. This verse is hiding from ignorant people. The ignorant people would think they are learned. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says In this way, he nourishes the devotees with nectar of prema and cheated the non-devotees by giving some intoxicants like mohini. The verse has two functions equally in relationship to the devotees and the demons. So the verse is like mohini, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says. For the demons, it has to be going very intoxicating, and they won't understand anything. But for the devotees, it reveals a very deep understanding. This understanding is also hidden in the Shatur Sloka Bhagavatam. So that is, we can understand from this verse that in the Shatur Sloka verse, the same meaning is there, but it is hidden in the Chatur Sloki. And this is a secret, a mystery of Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna is actually present in his personal form, and we can understand him by developing Krishna Prema. That is why this verse is called Prayojan. It is the highest goal. In verse 30 we will hear more about the other topics. We will read text 30. Shub. So many commentaries. This was a very long. Many commentaries were on 29 pages and pages. Yeah, nearly there. 30. So, by myself I create, sustain and withdraw myself within myself. By the power of my personal energy, which comprises the material elements, the senses and the modes of nature. Purport: although the Lord is the supreme entity, there is no absolute duality between him and his creation, since the creation is an extension of his being. This oneness is here emphasized by the Lord. So again, this is the first verse of Shatur Sloki. Yeah, it's 33, the first one. Maybe I missed. I said 35 before, but it's 33, 2933. I'm there before, during, and after the creation, Krishna says. So only I'm there, Krishna says. But we hear also something about material energy. So this is Sambandha Jnana. That now we go again with Shiva Goswami to the Krishna Sandarbha. And there Shiva Goswami says, someone may object. How can it be possible for the gopis to be simultaneously associated with Sri Krishna and again separated from him? This is very astonishing. So in order to allay this doubt, Krishna spoke this verse 30. But Shiva Goswami gives another translation of this verse. He says, this appearance of mine in my aprakat form in your meditation on me by my inconceivable internal potency, I appear in this aprakat form with all my transcendental attributes, thus I relieve the distresses born from my absence. So that is a very different translation. It's the inner meaning of this verse. One may ask, by what method does Lord Krishna appear in this way? Now we get to the verse. He appears by the agency of his personal inconceivable potency. Atma Maya Anubhavena. This is quoted in Madhvacharya's commentary. The Supreme Lord possesses his own eternal potency manifested from his own transcendental form known as Maya. Srila Vishwanath Thakur says, for the gopis the meaning is as follows. I make my appearance Atmanam Shriyami in your mind, Atmani by my own effort, Atmana. For enjoyment I maintain this form for a moment, Anupalayi, and then I make that form disappear, Nami. So we will read the last part of Vishwanath's commentaries on this verse. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we just read. That was the last part. Now we go to text 31. Being composed of pure consciousness or knowledge, the soul is distinct from everything material and is uninvolved in the entanglements of the modes of nature. We can perceive the soul through three functions of material nature, known as wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. Now the distinction between the soul and the body, or the material and spiritual energy, is presented. This corresponds with the second verse of the Chatusloka 34. Viteritam yat pratyeta na pratyeti satmani, and so on. Can someone read the purport from text 31, please?
It is clearly stated here that the soul, Atma, is constituted of pure knowledge, pure consciousness, and is thus ontologically distinct from the material nature. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word Atma may also be taken to mean Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna. Since the Lord has just explained in the previous verses that all material phenomena are expansions of Himself, the phrase Maya Pritibir Iyate indicates that by studying this world deeply, we will come to the perception of God. From this point of view also, the gopis were advised not to lament.
Thank you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is that this verse is not only about the soul. The soul may also be taken to mean Lord Krishna here. You can perceive Krishna during wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep. This is what the gopis were doing. We go to Krishna book, and Srila Prabhupada explains how we can perceive Krishna at every step and circumstances. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada writes that the purpose of our Krishna consciousness movement is to see Krishna as the gopis were seeing, through the mind, through the senses. And he says that there is only one qualification we must have in order to meet Krishna while we are chanting Hare Krishna, while we are doing our service. One qualification. Anyone knows what that one qualification is? No? It is submissiveness. That's a qualification to go to the higher states. That stage. Love is the higher stage, of course. How to get that love? How to get the taste? How to get the love? Submissiveness is a qualification to meet Krishna, to develop the ability to see Krishna always, to see Him in the heart of the super soul. This is from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 1, verses 53 till 56. It's from Srila Prabhupada's purport, where he discussed the Chatusloki. So again, Jiva Goswami says in Anucheda 159, after hearing Krishna's explanation of his Prakat presence in Aprakat presence in Vrindavan, so after hearing Krishna's explanation of his Aprakat presence in Vrindavan, even after he had gone to Mathura, the gopis may protest, at present you are performing pastimes in Mathura. How is it possible for you to be still with us in the village of Vrindavan, in order to answer the gopis' doubts, as well as to explain gopis' svarasika perception of him? He speaks verse 31. So here is the inner meaning. that, the inner meaning, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is free from all phases of material entanglement, from the grip of material nature. He is pure and full of transcendental knowledge. He appears in the thoughts of his devotees, whether they are awake, dreaming, and deeply asleep. So you are perceiving me, whether you are awake, dream, or are sleeping, because I am not bound by the modes, even I may be in Mathura. I am also here with you at the same time. In the Prakat pastime, he is in Mathura, but he is not separated in the Aprakat pastime, because I am your thoughts, I am in your mind. The perception of the Lord in his Aprakat form is in the Gopis' meditation enlivened them and increased their love for him and made it possible for them to bear the long period of separation. Krishna appeared even in their sleep. Thus the meaning of these statements: I am always manifesting before you. Awake or asleep, they were always thinking of Krishna. In this way, Krishna was actually coming in their minds. He was coming and being present there. He enters into their mind. So even in dreamless sleeps, they were seeing him. Even in the very deep sleep, they were able to see Krishna. So Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur, he gives another meaning. That's we will read his commentary of this verse. Yeah. The first meaning of the verses is as follows. How can people of this world know your form? My form is beyond the gunas, called the Paramatma, perceived everywhere. I am Paramatma, Atma, knowledge, Jnana Maya, beyond Maya, in other words, Chit, and have no relation with the gunas. Though I am the creator due to my Asintya Sakti Suddha, though existing within the bodies, I am separate. Though I am the controller of the gunas, I have no relation to the gunas. But that Paramatma can be inferred to the material functions of the mind during walking, sleeping, and dreaming. The Bhagavatam supports this elsewhere. It can be inferred from the gunas. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.25. The Supreme Lord is perceived in all living entities through perception, by inference, and influenced by intelligence. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.35. The meaning for the gopis is as follows. I, Atma, being full of knowledge, Jnana Maya, thou residing in Mathura, are always conscious of you and never forget you. Though I stay in Mathura, I remain uncontaminated by association with those women, Shuddha, because saddened by your sorrow of separation, how could I get pleasure from other women? Thus I remain separate from them, Vyatirikta, for I continue to dwell on your qualities such as beauty and sweetness, guna afyaya. Similarly, I can be perceived by you with your mental faculties during sleeping, dreaming, and waking states. In deep sleep, you can perceive my general form and qualities as Paramatma. In dreams, you can perceive my particular form and qualities. In waking state, you can perceive me directly in sweet meetings with you, with laughing and dancing and other pastimes. This is Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. And now we are going to text 32. As a person just risen from sleep may continue to meditate on a dream, even though it is illusory, so by the agency of the mind, one meditates on the sense objects, which the senses can then obtain. Therefore, one should become fully alert and bring the mind under control. Can someone read the purport, please? 32.
The verb pratipad means to be perceived or restored. The soul that is Vinendra, free from the dreamlike condition of material consciousness, is restored to its constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord Sri Krishna. And thus the soul is directly perceived by pure consciousness.
Thank you. Shiva Goswami from the Sandarbhas. At this point, the gopis may reply, we feel now the devastating effect of separation from you, Krishna. How is it that you tell us that you are not separated, that we are not separated from you? Considering that the gopis might raise this objection, Krishna added to instruct them with the following words. And now this is the inner meaning, the meaning for the gopis of text 32. My dear friends, if you become able to free yourself from the illusion of thinking that you are separated from me, you will find that you have my association at every moment. So if we read the first line of the verse again, that a person just risen from sleep may continue to meditate on a dream, even though it is illusory. So by the agency of the mind, one meditates on the sense objects, which the senses can obtain. So what is the dream? The dream is that I've gone to Mathura. That is an illusion. I'm not gone. I'm here. And when you understand that, then you will be always with me. In the verse he hinted to the gopis that their conception of being separated from me was illusion, like illusion one sees in a dream. He wanted to explain to them that if they are with him, in his aprakat feature, meditating on him, then they were certainly not separated from him, but they were continuously associating with him. Aprakat means that I'm with you. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has another interpretation, which we won't get into, but there is a meaning for the gopis. That I will read the third paragraph of the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Go back, third paragraph. Well, for the gopis, the following meaning is given. Walking from a swooning condition, a person like you rejects the mind which dwells on the object of the senses, such as seeing and touching me, tasting the nectar of my lips and embracing me, which are real, because they come from me, for my actual appearance in this world, appear false as in a dream state. Because of that, without sleep, you appeared with eyes and other senses devoid of anjana, sandalwood, and color. I know that though I gave you all sorts of enjoyment, you, blinded by attraction, pained by separation, losing all discretion, consider all that enjoyment false. This gives me great unhappiness. I have therefore sent this message to you to say that your enjoyment with me is true. So they were always thinking of Krishna. In that meditation on Krishna, they are enjoying with Krishna. And they are thinking, no, this is false. The truth is Krishna is in Mathura. And we are just thinking about him. And Krishna is saying, no, I'm with you in Vrindavan, when you are awake, dreaming, and in deep sleep. That is the truth. He's trying to tell them you are in illusion. You think that I'm in Mathura and that we are separated. No, I'm in your minds, I'm in your dreams. So this is his message. Now we'll hear text 33. 23. According to intelligent authorities, this is the ultimate conclusion of all the Vedas, as well as the practice of yoga, sankhya, and renunciation. So which of the Satur Shloka verses does this correspondent with? It's 36, Abhideya. This is Abhideya, Sankhya, renunciation, austerity, sense control. All these different processes lead to Krishna. Everyone is searching for perfection in their practice. But the practice has been described in the previous verses. What is the perfection? It is to meet Krishna and to meditate always on Krishna. When you meditate on Krishna, then you are with Krishna. That's the point made here. Can someone read the purport of 33?
Here, here the Lord stated that all Vedic literature is meant ultimately to bring the soul to the point of controlling the mind and senses and fixing them in transcendental self-realization. Thus, process of so-called yoga, mysticism, or religion that involve unrestricted sense gratification are not actually spiritual process, but rather convenient way for foolish people to justify
Hare Krishna. We don't hear Muralidhara anymore.
Lord Krishna here assures the gopi that by fixing their mind in self-realization, they will realize their spiritual oneness with the Lord. Thus, they will no longer suffer the pangs of separation.
So Krishna is telling them, you are not in separation, you are in union with me. You think you are in separation and that's why you are suffering. Jiva Goswami says, this verse explains that the gopis, because they were always thinking of Krishna, they were actually not separated. He gives the example of the rivers which flow to the ocean, and in the same way the study of the Vedas and other spiritual practice find their conclusion in Krishna consciousness. So what about control of the mind? They who understand the meaning of the Vedas carefully control activities of the mind. Therefore, Krishna advises the gopis, control your mind. Come free from the misconception of thinking that you are separated from me. You should control your mind about thinking you are separated. I'm with you. So verse 34, now he stops the philosophical part and is going to tell the reason why he left the gopis. Text 34. But the actual reason why I, the beloved object of your sight, have stayed far away from you, is that I want to intensify your meditation upon me, and thus draw your minds closer to me. Can someone read this small purport?
Sometimes that which is close to our eyes is far from our heart and mind, and conversely absence makes the heart grow fonder. Although apparently going far away from the gopis, Lord Krishna was bringing them closer to him on the spiritual platform.
Yes, thank you. Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book says, my dear gopis, to increase your super excellent love for me, I've purposely separated myself from you so that you may be constant in meditation on me. So he was bringing them up to that point of constant meditation. That, of course, they were already on that stage, but separation makes it more intense. When he's with them, as we heard before, then Krishna is there externally. Then he's not so much in their heart. And when Krishna is externally gone, they are in separation, Krishna comes into their heart. When Krishna is outside, then it's not so much in their heart. This is why he had separation from them. So Prabhupada says in Krishna book, Lord Chaitanya taught people in general the method of Vipralamba Seva, which is the method of rendering service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead in feelings of separation. The 6 Goswamis also taught worship of Krishna in the feeling of the gopis in separation. The prayers composed by Srinivasacharya about the Goswamis explain these matters very clearly. Srinivasacharya said that the Goswamis were always absorbed in the ocean of transcendental feelings in the mood of the gopis. When they lived in Vrindavan, they were searching for Krishna, crying, "Where are you, Krishna? Oh gopis, where are you? Where are you, Srimati Radharani?" They never said, "We have now seen Radha and Krishna, and therefore our mission is fulfilled." Their mission remained always unfulfilled. They never met Radha and Krishna. How do we worship Radha and Krishna in separation? We are in separation, but if we go to the temple, we are with him. How can we worship Radha and Krishna in separation in our present condition? What is the process of worshipping in separation? The main part of it is chanting Hare Krishna and serving the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, in his commentary on the last verse of Chatur Sloka, he says, the last verse means searching after Krishna, means approaching a spiritual master, to serve the spiritual master. Because what do we know about Krishna except what the spiritual master has taught us? And therefore we must serve, and to the extent we will feel separation from the spiritual master, to that extent we will feel love for Krishna. Krishna is watchdog. So Krishna is watching how we are doing. Jiva Goswami says, at this point, Krishna considers that the gopis' response to his instruction may take the form of the following thoughts. So this is from Jiva Goswami. My dear Krishna, we are certainly distressed by your long absence. You are advertising yourself as very merciful by giving this philosophy. If you are actually merciful, why don't you return to Vrindavan and appear before us and associate with us before? We think your clever words and so-called mercy are simply meant for cleverly cheating. So that was after hearing all this philosophy. Because Krishna considered the gopis may be thinking in this way, then he said his verse that I've left you to increase your love for me. So you may in constant meditation on me. Sridhar Swami gives us a glimpse into the gopis' thoughts. Krishna, while you try to cheat us with speaking these theories of the impersonalists to us as if we were outsiders, you may speak to others in this way, but not to us. We think you are the ultimate in all handsomeness, and we are completely unable to tolerate being separated from you. Jiva Goswami gives a very interesting answer to this question or doubt. He quotes from Mahabharata, when the Pandavas were traveling to the house of Lak, when Duryodhana had planned to kill them, Vidura spoke a riddle, hinting the nature of Duryodhana's plan, and Yudhishthira was able to understand the information concealed in Vidura's words. In the same way, Krishna informed the gopis of his eternal presence amongst them in his apricot form. And the gopis were able to understand the meaning of the riddle he spoke. So they understood finally. According to Jiva Goswami, they understood the message. They got the inner meaning of the message. According to Srila Vishwanath Bharati Thakur, they didn't get the message. So Jiva Goswami said they got the message, and Srila Vishwanath Bharati Thakur said they didn't get the message. He said, "Oh Uddhav, by this message you have doubled our pain. What can we say about messengers who are ignorant of time, place, and person? What can we say about you who have no sense of discretion? You have brought this burden of Brahmagyan this far, but who will buy it? Can the gopis who from birth have been drinking the nectar of Krishna's beauty now drink the bitter juice of Brahmagyan? In time of great famine, it is better the women give up their life in starvation than eat grass. This Brahmagyan is certainly a medicine for the sickness of material existence, lying in the hearts of great saintly physicians, but can it be the cure for the great sickness of Krishna Prema? This might be good for someone who has a material disease, but it will not cure Krishna prema. Did these doctors ever research this disease? Learning the scriptures and diagnose and cure from Sandipani Muni, Krishna has taught to you, and sent a medicine to relieve the fever of prema, you can be our messenger. Take this message and go back to its sender. Return it. Sometimes the letter gets sent back to the sender. So the gopi said, send this message back. Take the medicine and let him drink it, and he will distinguish his fever of prema for us. As we are suffering, he must be suffering. Let him take his own medicine. Make him drink it so that no trace of fever remains. But may our fever of prema remain for 100 births. We will not touch that medicine. Would it be possible for torrents of water to extinguish the forest fire? Extinguish the fire of a lightning bolt? If we find in his message something a little favorable to us, that is his intention, or is it just an accident? We have no faith in him. When the gopis spoke like this in an angry mood, Uddhav spoke to them, ladies, just hear a minute with attention, as well as Brahmagyan. I also brought another message. Then they listened to him very eagerly. The message is, although dear to your eyes, I am not far from you. The reason for this is that I desire that you constantly meditate on me, and by that meditation your minds get closer to me. What is within eyesight is far from the mind, and when one is close to the mind, one is far from the sight. Between the two, the mind is more important. I want you to remain closer to my mind, and may that be your desire also. When you are far away, you are close to my mind. So these are deep commentaries. We are going back now to read text 35 and 36. We will need another 30 minutes to finish, I think. 35, 36. When her lover is far away, a woman thinks of him more than he is present before her. Because your minds are totally absorbed in me, from all other engagement, you remember me always. So you will very soon have me again in your presence. We read the commentary of Vishwanatharya Bhakti Thakur. This verse considers the relative importance of feeling with the heart and seeing with the eyes. Chai indicates that this example holds good for men as well as women. The heart becomes more absorbed in the beloved when he is far away than when the beloved is present within eyesight. So, and 26, Srila Vishwanatharya Thakur gives a nice comment. Oh, Uddhav, that message also you should keep in the treasure box of your heart. True, now Krishna is enjoying with the women of Mathura. Sometime in the future he will be far from their eyes. At that time you can give this message to them. But right now this message is unacceptable in Vraj. Previously, even when Krishna was present in Vraj and visible to our eyes, and then was absent for a moment, that moment felt like 100 yugas. During that period of separation appearing like one yuga, the gopis could have brought Krishna near with their minds 1,000 times. When the gopis spoke irreverently in this way, Uddhav replied, O women, if this message does not appeal to you, then hear another message from me. I brought many messages. Again he distributed Krishna's words to them. As you have completely rejected objects like house and husband, your minds concentrate upon me, Krishna, and you constantly remember me. Because of this, you will have attained very soon my presence. Text 37. Although some gopis had to remain in the covered village and so could not join the rasa dance to sport with me at night in the forest, they were nonetheless fortunate. Indeed, they attained me by thinking of my potent pastime. So here Krishna gives an example. He's saying, when Krishna left the rasa dance, when leaving for the rasa dance, some gopis could not go, but they were thinking of me and they attained Krishna. So in Krishna books, Srila Prabhupada says, absorption in Krishna consciousness by feeling separation is the method for attaining the lotus feet of Krishna. If you are looking for the quickest way to get Krishna, then it is absorption in Krishna consciousness by the feelings of separation. Because we are separated, it shouldn't be hard to keep Krishna in our mind. When we feel separation, then we don't get into this distraction. But we get in our situation, because we don't feel that separation, we get into material thoughts and into the material world. Distraction from Krishna is our separation. Our senses, mind, and everything is separated from Krishna. Jiva Goswami, again in his Krishna Sandarbha Anucheta 65. The gopis might reply to the statement of verse 36. You think of me and you will attain me very soon, Krishna said. If by thinking of you, one attains quickly your association, then why haven't you appeared before us? We are thinking of you all the time. Why haven't you come? Then he quotes this verse. Some gopis were prevented of leaving from the arena of the rasa dance. He personally presented himself before them in his uppercut form. This is quoted, and there are many interpretations which we are not reading, but Krishna said that actually the means of attaining my favor, my loving service to me, fortunately, you are all those engaged. And now the real message comes. I'm completely submissive to the pure love of my devotees. And therefore every day I leave the city of the Yadus and come to Vatsabhuma. Every day I'm coming. So revealing my uppercut form to the residents there. This is just to my repeated promise to return to Vrindavan. So many times when he was leaving, he sent a message that I will return. So many times, every day is coming. This message that Uddhava is giving to the gopis were able to attract Krishna, to continuously stay among, and Krishna stayed continuously with them in his uppercut form, because they were situated on the platform of pure devotional service. So how this verse relates, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that yes, he explains in his commentary that nearly at the end, just a moment. That's text. This is 37. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We will read the second part. Some gopis did not attain the rasa dance with me, as I engaged in amusements, Kridata Maya, on the night of the Rasa Lila in Vrindavan. Why was that? Because they remained in Vraj, being kept forcibly in their houses by their husbands, Vrajyas Tita. Though they wanted to die because their desires were not fulfilled and they experienced great pain in separation from me, they attained auspiciousness, Kalyanya. That is, they remained alive by thinking of the rasa dance and other pastimes of mine. They attained me. Situated in their house in Vraj, they were with me because I personally appeared in their houses. After that, on the other nights, they were also able to attain the rasa dance on the bank of the Yamuna. So, we have here these gopis. They could not go to the rasa dance, so Krishna says, I came to them. So you could not come with me to Mathura, and I came to you every day. And that is the real message which Krishna is delivering. So from Krishna Sangati, which talks about some extra letters which Uddhav brought. That's not in the Bhagavatam, this. And in one of these letters, O girls with beautiful necks, my kinsmen keep me confined in Mathura, bound by the chains of duty and engage me in pious deeds. Yet my thoughts are only of you. My desire is only for your friendship. That torn between duty and love, I somehow pass my days. Please do not speak about your sufferings. I know them all too well. As a result, my heart is broken to pieces. No doubt you have honored me by your love. Unable to reciprocate, I remain bewildered, unable to pass a single moment in peace. So Krishna writes of his own sufferings in Mathura. Every night in fragrant Vrindavan forest, you and I enjoy Rasa dance. But you think you are merely dreaming. When you wake up, you rebuke me mercilessly, saying that I left you. O girls with crooked hearts, are you not ashamed to speak in that way? So he's saying, I'm with you every night. I'm coming, but you think it's just a dream. Then you chastise me. So what can I do? I'm fulfilling my promise. Here Uddhav is approaching Radharani with a special letter for her. Uddhav sees Radharani a slight distance away, lying on a flower petal cot. She looks emaciated but radiant. After the departure of the bee Krishna, the bumblebee, she had fainted, and she entered death-like trance. Uddhav took a garland from the folds of his shudders. The garland, made of 5 kinds of flowers, bore the fragrance of Krishna's chest. He had sent it especially for Radha. However, how else could Uddhav awaken her? When Radha smelled the fragrance of that garland, she became conscious. At that point, Uddhav very slowly approached her. He could see that she was the favorite shelter of Govinda, and he had a special message from Krishna to Radharani. This letter said, O goddess, Krishna, to whom you are most dear, whom you love more than life, and who loves you more than his own life, that Krishna is afflicted as he holds you in his unhappy heart, speaks this message to you. On the first day, we met our love for each other, appeared suddenly without the slightest provocation. I believe your love did not decrease when I left Braj, neither will it increase when you hear my prayers to you. How can I easily describe your love for me? It gives life like Amrita. It destroys the sufferings of the 3 worlds, and although I remain distinct from you, it is my only sustenance. I know the sun of separation had dried up the lake of your heart and cast the fish of your life breath upon the air desert of your throat. The air desert of your throat. Quite poetical. How sad, my friends, here in Mathura, like powerful winds, carried me away from the thirst-quenching nectar of your love and threw me in salt ocean of thirst, the palatial residence in which I now reside. Here I simply hanker and lament. What will I do now? What will I do now? Radharani, do you think our meetings night after night to be dreams? They are not. Listen, because I spend every night pleasing you, I'm unable to sleep, thus I'm always drowsy and haggard. What secret mantra do you chant to drag me from the palace of the Yadus? So here it says, you think you are dreaming, but you are bringing me every night to Vrindavan. So this is from Krishna Sangati. So here Uddhav is saying goodbye, and the last thing he says is, don't worry, Krishna will soon return. And these are his final departing words. In the next class, we will hear more details how the gopis replied to this message. We are reading a little ahead here, but Uddhav is talking to Krishna here, Bhakti Mathura. That, yes, I think I have a recording, but I will play that next time. That is an interesting recording I have from Bhujan Prabhu. But I will start with that next lesson. So, any comments?
Very intense, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Very intense. This is very deep knowledge, deep absorption. Very deep absorption.
Mother Kasturica, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have one question in the text 25. When it is described as Parivartita, gopis brought the standard of pure love of Godhead. And then you were describing what is known before this was Vaidhi Bhakti and Dasya Bhakti. So how do we understand when Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma? Does it mean that he brings this Madhurya Bhakti only once in a day of Brahma? So only one set of people in the whole Brahma's day would be benefited? How do we understand this?
My understanding is that Lord Chaitanya says, well, it's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, text 4, I think, Lord Chaitanya brought something what was not available before, and that is this Madhurya Ras. So that is what I understand, that it was not available before. It's true that before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, the Radha Krishna was, the worship of Radha Krishna was practically not there. That Lakshmi Narayan and so on. But yes, I don't know if that's every day of Brahma Krishna appears. That if he shows his Goloka Vrindavan, that yeah, I don't know. I can not answer your question. But it's interesting. That because Lord Krishna appears every time. That in the day of Brahma. So usually it is to be expected that he presents all the rasas, but how it goes with the statement of Lord Chaitanya, I don't know. But, anyway, thank you for bringing up that point. Pavitra Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for today's class is too philosophical. And Maharaj, I just want to refer to text 35.
35.
Yeah, which says, when her lover is far away, a woman thinks of him more than when he is present before her.
Right.
Yeah, there's a proverb that says, out of sight, out of mind. Does it conform to spiritual philosophy?
That's Abheda Cynthia Tattva. That is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. We serve in separation. And that's what we do now. We serve Krishna in separation by serving the spiritual master and follow his instructions. So, and that is, of course, we are serving separation to purify our heart. But once the heart are pure, when we have still that mood of separation, then it becomes very intense love for Krishna. But it is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya that we are separated, but in reality we are not separated, because you cannot be separated from Krishna. But we think we are separated. But our separation is caused by the modes of material nature. That it's caused by the modes of material nature. But it's different. But still, if we serve in separation, that will purify us. And like it was in the purport somewhere, that when we go to the temple, we see Krishna, we are not in separation. So we have the same principle is there. Does that help, Bhaktivedanta?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. So then we have Muralidhar Syampal, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisance, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, in the verse number 26, the purport,
Yeah.
it says that following the example of the gopis, we should love the Supreme Lord with all our heart, soul, and mighty. So, as a preacher, sometime when how we want to preach this, how we should preach this message, since we have a different category of the devotee, so now we want to apply in our daily life, Maharaj.
Yeah, how to love Krishna with our body, mind, senses. Is that what you...
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. It's by engaging our body, mind, senses, and so on in the service of Krishna, always. That service is a sign of love. Although we may not feel much love, but we serve, and that will purify us and bring us to the higher platform. So what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that buddhyas tadatmas tatnishtas tatprayana gachanti panavaravitam. Yeah. Tad buddhyas tadatmas tatnishtas tatprayana gachanti panavaravitam. Yeah, anyway. It says, but if we serve Krishna with body, mind and words, it will purify our heart. And we will come to the platform of love. So, we should always be engaged in service for Krishna. Or, of course, hearing and study Bhaktivedanta is also service. That's also part of the service. But we should always serve Krishna with our body, mind and senses. That's the process. We cannot jump to this higher platform of feeling Krishna is present every moment, but gradually become more conscious of Krishna. Does that help? Does that help, Muralidhar Syampal?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. Mother Prabhupada for you.
Hare Krishna, I have two questions actually, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So the first one is, it's kind of related to what you were just saying, because in text 32, he's telling the gopis that your sense of my being in Mathura is just an illusion. It's just a dream.
Yeah.
And that's what because you're in illusion, basically because you're in Maya, you're thinking that I'm not with you. But the actual reality is your thoughts. It's your state of consciousness is the reality, and the external situation is an illusion. It's just an illusion. So I was just thinking that, in our own practice of Krishna consciousness, there's a lot of emphasis on the external situation, like what we're doing, our sadhana and our services, and in those things, and that we know, we're trying to think of Krishna, and that's there, but we don't usually hear that the external situation is an illusion and that it's our consciousness. When our consciousness is on Krishna, then that's the reality. And it's something, the experience of Krishna consciousness is something different from our external situation.
Yeah, but I understand your point. First, I would like to say that the situation of the gopis of separation is different because Krishna reveals himself to their consciousness. They are bound by their love. And we may think of Krishna, but that's not Krishna revealing himself. So we are not on that platform. That's a bit different. What was the other point you made?
That was the question. But I was just confused about this thing that our thoughts are the reality and that our external situation is illusion.
Yeah. That's the gopis situation is a bit different. He reveals themselves to him. And we will have also that experience when we come to our Sakti. After our heart is purified, we become attracted to Chi, and then our Sakti. Then Krishna also reveals himself. But that does not mean that if we are not thinking of Krishna, if we are thinking of Krishna, that Krishna is not there. Krishna is there, because he's everything at the same time. But still he's not on the same level as the gopis. So we think of Krishna. If we chant the holy name, we hear his holy name, it's Krishna. So it is Krishna, the holy name, that we think of Krishna, and Krishna is in our mind, but it's by our own effort trying to think of Krishna. There is a vast difference with the gopis. We do it because we follow regulations and we try to come to that platform. But finally, if we become purified and we can have the same experience of the gopis, finally, if we come to that higher level. So it's encouraging to hear about it.
Thank you, Maharaj. And then my second question is in relation to the gopis' objection to what Krishna is saying, because they say, because he's saying that I'm not separate from with you. When you think of me, you're there with. But then they object. They say, well, he said I went away to intensify your remembrance of me so that you would feel my presence more. And then they say, but we've always been intensely thinking of you and we're still feeling separation. So I thought that the objection was not addressed. Like, they're still feeling separation.
Yeah, of course. They want Krishna externally also present. But there is no. But the love when Krishna appears in their minds and their senses and so on, in their dreams, it's more intense. And Krishna wants them to be in that situation. Yes. Of course, they want Krishna be there, but if Krishna is there, their love will not be on the will be on a lower level, less intense. It's still the highest level, but it's less intense than the separation, and that's like that is Krishna's will. But But of course they want Krishna, that they want him to be present. But Krishna says no. Then you feel your love is greater when I appear in your mind, and I'm the same Krishna, the same experience, the same pastimes in your mind. So yes, of course, that's inconceivable for us how to understand this, but we can get an idea. Yeah, that's what I could say. So, you are unmuted. You are muted. Prabhupada Priya, anything?
Oh, I just said thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. So we have Mother Kasturica, so please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, one more question.
Yeah.
When we were discussing the 4 shlokas of from 29 to 33,
Yeah.
so it is said that it's the greatest secret, Krishna Prema, is hidden because it is to bewilder the ignorant and demons. And you mentioned that even in the Chatur Shloka, there is an inner meaning. So why is it not revealed to Brahma? Because he is a devotee of the Lord. Is it because he is not on the pure devotional service, or it is not necessary at that point? How do we understand?
I'm not sure it's not revealed to Brahma, that he got the knowledge to the heart, means he got the realization to the heart. But he is a pure devotee, but he's not on the Mahabhav of the gopis. It doesn't have that kind of love in Madhurya Ras. It's more dasya, servant. So by that he has no access to these higher realizations. But I'm sure he understands the points, Brahma. He's a pure devotee, and he understands the love of the gopis, for sure. He learned his lesson after he took away the coward boys. And then he started to understand the value of the residence of Vrindavan. So certainly he has an idea that, of course, I cannot speak for Lord Brahma, but at least like we are here in these pastimes, he may also have the right understanding. He must have the right understanding of all of this, because he's the head of our sampradaya. So everything what we do here is coming to the Guru Parampara, and it's coming from Brahma finally. That because Brahma got his Shatur Sloki, that's all what he got. But that's everything. And the Bhagavatam is an expansion of that, explaining this. Then also the whole Vedas is an expansion of this. Because Vedanta Sutra has 4 books. The first book is about Sambandha Gyan, the next 2 books is about Abhidheya Gyan, and the last one is Prayojan. And all these are explained in this 4 Sattva Sloka, Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are extensive commentaries of our acharyas. So Brahma, he knows all these things for sure. But he may not have the experience of the gopis and the inner realizations. Because he's on another level of prema. He's a pure devotee. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then remind me on Friday that I play this recording from that from Bhujan Prabhu about when Uddhava is talking to Krishna when he goes back to Mathura. That's nice to hear. Remind me of that if I forget it. So thank you very much. Our next lesson is on Friday. In the night here, I disappear here. I fly from Kiev to Riga in Latvia, and then I have a connecting flight from Riga to Brussels, and then I have a 2-hour train journey to get to my destination in Belgium, and then we meet each other on Friday. I'm only 1 week in Belgium, then I'm going to Canada, but let's see what Krishna wants. Looking forward to see you on Friday. Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bol.